What is up, guys? We're back again. Today we are talking about Patriots versus Loyalists. And this particular idea actually starts a brand new content standard for us. So today we're actually going to start with content standard 8.1.3. Still talking about pre-American independence, but realistically, content standard 8.1.3 says cite specific textual and visual evidence to analyze the ideological and propaganda war between Great Britain and her North American colonies. So realistically, the stuff that we talked about in our earlier videos, we were talking about physical things that happened in the pre-Revolutionary War time period. This particular goal, this content standard 1.3, really deals with the ideas that were being thrown out during the time. So we're really going to be talking about the war of ideas between Great Britain and her colonies, as well as the war of propaganda. So the first thing that we talked about during this particular content standard was the view of the Patriots and Loyalists about independence, content standard 1.3a. With this, I showed a clip from Mel Gibson's The Patriot. If you want to go watch that, you're more than welcome to. It is rated R. You should get your parents' permission before you watch it. But it's a great representation of the Revolutionary War, and I would push you to watch that when you're old enough, or if you have parental guidance to watch it. So in that particular video, it shows the actual differences between Patriots and Loyalists. So really, what's the difference? Patriots and Loyalists, they were all colonists, but Patriots were colonists that wanted independence from Britain, and Loyalists were colonists that were still loyal to the British king. So it really caused a divide in the colonies because you've got a large portion of people that are still loyal to the king and a large portion of people that want independence from Britain. They don't want to follow the king any more than they have to. So what we decided to do with the Patriots and Loyalists is we decided to make a Venn diagram with them in it. So let's start off with the Loyalists and talk about a few things with the Loyalists. So you got some Loyalists that fought for the British Army. Now, the reason why only some had to fight for the British Army was because a lot of the Loyalists that were in the colonies, they were the ones that kind of profited from a lot of the things that Britain was doing. Maybe they were British tax collectors, maybe they were royal governors, but they were loyalists nonetheless. So because they had a lot of wealth, typically, because they lived pretty good lives, a lot of them didn't have to fight for the British Army. And also, the British Army was huge anyway. It didn't exactly need the help from these colonists that were in the colonies to be able to make them strong. The British Army and Navy were already strong, so not all the Loyalists had to fight for the British Army. Most worked for the king or benefited from the status quo. We kind of already hit on that. Whether they're British tax collectors or the royal governors or whatever they might be doing, they're benefiting from the normal things that have been going on in the colonies from these acts and these taxes. And honestly, some of the Loyalists, when all this stuff just started happening in the colonies, they just left to go back to Britain. Maybe they were born in Britain, maybe they were born in the North American colonies, but they just left to go back to Britain. It was easier that way. They were loyal, so loyal to the king that they felt like they needed to actually physically go to Britain to escape what they viewed as persecution by these patriots that were in the colonies. So in contrast to the Loyalists, you got the Patriots, and most of the Patriots fought for the Continental Army. And the reason why most of them had to fight for the Continental Army is because they were fighting for an idea. They were leading a revolution. And in order to lead a revolution, you have to have people that are willing to put their lives on the line to actually go and fight and possibly die for this idea of independence. And most of them are willing to do that. So most of the people that consider them patriots fought in the Continental Army. The Patriots were led by the Continental Congress. They were also led by the Sons of Liberty. But the Continental Congress really was the people that were calling the shots. This is your big leaders like John Adams and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. These guys were really the ones that were calling the shots in the early days before we were the United States of America. And then you have the Patriots that were really leading the boycotts and protests against Britain that we really talked about in Content Standard 8.1.2 in the last few weeks. You guys know about those boycotts and protests that they led, and those were all Patriot-led. So some of the similarities that they have together. Both groups were colonists. Okay, that's hard for some people to grasp, but both the Patriots and Loyalists, They were all colonists. In the very same way, today in America, we have a two-party political system. And even if someone is a Republican and the other person is a Democrat, that doesn't mean that they aren't both Americans. Whether you're Republican or whether you're Democrat, you're still both Americans. So whether you're a patriot or whether you're a loyalist, you're still a colonist. Okay? Both of these groups were colonists. And because they were colonists, both tried to convince others to join their cause. It's much better to have more people rallied around your cause. There you have more support, you have more help, and it's easier for you to move forward in the future. And both groups faced harassment, so it wasn't just patriots harassing loyalists, it was also loyalists harassing patriots, and so on and so forth. So realistically, patriots and loyalists are just groups of people. The patriots wanted independence from Britain, and the loyalists were the colonists that were still loyal to the British king. So let's move on, talk about something that we talked about later than that. The writings of Mercy Otis Warren and Phyllis Wheatley. Now, I don't have a ton of slides for these ladies, but Mercy Otis Warren is there on the left and Phyllis Wheatley is there on the right. And honestly, these two ladies made such an impact on the revolution through their ideas. Both of them were very well educated. They were both literate. They both were published authors, which was crazy for the time because women typically did not have the same education that men got during the revolutionary period. So it was atypical of them to actually be able to read and to be able to write, especially for them to be published. Mercy Otis Warren is actually known as one of the first women that was published in America. And then you have Phyllis Wheatley, that was the first African-American female that had her works published in America. So Mercy Otis Warren, she typically dealt with screenplays. She wrote books, but her screenplays were satire. And what I mean by satire is that they were making fun of something. Most of Mercy Otis Warren's screenplays actually were making fun of the British. And when you go to see a movie or when you go to see a play, I mean, a lot of people are going to see that. That's why you write movies. That's why you make movies and you make plays so people can consume them. They're going to watch them, right? So Mercy Otis Warren creates these screenplays that are making fun of the British, and people see these. And it's going to change their minds about independence and how they see the British. Also, in the very same way, Phyllis Wheatley continues to write poems. She writes poems about continental commanders, showing what men of stature that they are. And really, when those are published, people are reading them because when books get published, they get read. And when poems get published, they get read. That's literally the function of books and poems. So Phyllis Wheatley really is the first African-American female that's taking this idea of independence that's being put forth by the Patriots. And they're really both, the big idea here is that both of these ladies influenced pre-revolution America in a huge way because their ideas that they were putting out in their books and in their poems and in their plays, they were very revolutionary. They were very patriot-like. They supported the idea of independence, and they really did kind of bash Britain in a lot of that. At least Mercy Otis Warren did. So you see these two ladies supporting the cause of the revolution, and people really can get a hold of their media, the things that they are creating, and it changes their mind. If maybe they need something to change their mind about how they view the revolution or how they view Britain. So their ideas really are very important when we're talking about the revolution and getting people on board to actually rebel against Britain and this idea of independence. These two ladies really pushed people to do that very thing. So realistically, the two targets that we wanted to get through to you today in today's video, we wanted to be able to talk about and analyze the writings of Mercy Otis Warren and Phyllis Wheatley, as well as analyze the points of view about the Patriots and Loyalists about independence. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit today. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments or shoot me an email. I'll be more than glad to help you. Peace out.